Hey, this is Kieran for GOST, which is getting our shit together. I'm here. I'm really delighted to be joined by Tim Brazeal of Understanding Attraction. Hi, Tim.
Yo, what's up, man? How are you?
Hi. Yeah, I'm very well. Very well. Thank you for sitting down and doing this.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you could just give a little bit of an intro to the guys about who you are and what you do.
I'm a dating coach. I focus mainly on getting guys that already have success, usually financially or business, into like longer term relationships. So I'm not really I don't have much of a focus on getting laid, even though that's obviously a big part of it. Um, because you have to meet a certain amount of women before you find a relationship that's good. But I'm more focused on, guys that basically they got their shit together, except for the dating part, and they thought that that would just come naturally, and it obviously doesn't. If you look at like any of the guys I work with, like they're all super successful, and they like freeze up when they talk to a girl. So um, that's pretty much what I do.
Nice, nice. And thank you for the free shout out there. They got their shit
Mhm.
together, so
Yeah, for sure.
no, but no, nice. I really like that because that's very much like my wheelhouse, like the real mechanics, or well, not just. I mean, not to make it sound so mechanical, but yeah, just like
It is kind of.
it kind of is to some extent. If you've got everything else going on emotionally, you're there, you're willing to connect, there's nothing else on your back, there's no fear going on, like mentally you're all set and ready to go, then it's just like, okay, then how do we do the dance of attraction?
Yeah.
And I think there's a load of content there to dive into. So how do you go about doing that with someone? Like say if a really successful guy comes along to you,
Yeah.
Tim, how do you help me?
Um, Yeah, so it depends on the guy. Usually, because a lot of guys actually I work with they're usually in tech or like medicine. So they spent a long time in school, usually like late 20s, early 30s. So usually I take them through the basically what I call the three pillars of attraction. So there's the actual, physical part, which is, just get in the gym, like very basic, like diet, lose a little bit of weight, start working on do exercises that actually build parts of your body that make an attractive physique, understanding how to train for like hypertrophy and like muscle gains rather than just strength, because a lot of guys they'll be pretty overweight and they're really strong but like their muscles aren't as big as they should be for how strong they are.
Yeah, there's
So
aesthetic to it as well. It's like, yeah, it's
yeah,
okay, you're strong,
exactly.
but
We train for aesthetics.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and then I take them through how to actually find girls. So that's the second pillar is like, where do you find the types of women you want to have in your life? Because, if you're constantly dating really toxic people, then it's probably something you're doing. It's probably not something that like, all women aren't the worst people ever. It's like, you're probably going to a place where, you know, these types of girls hang out and you need to figure that out and change that and figure out the type of girl you want to be in a longer term relationship with because that's really important. So if you want someone that's more ambitious and maybe doesn't go out all the time, you're probably not going to meet her at a bar or a club. You're probably going to meet her just walking throughout your day, like on the streets. She's walking to her job. Like that's the only time you'd ever see her, especially now with Corona. Like she's not going out much, just like going, on her way to the gym or on her way to work if she works in an office. So just finding out where those girls are. Online dating is obviously part of that too. Getting matched with girls that are of the type that you want. You can manipulate that quite a bit, and that's a lot more just like mechanical data type stuff.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then obviously the third part is managing the relationships. So how to you know spark attraction on the first date, but not only that, how to get multiple dates and how to get multiple dates the right way, because you can only run a script so far. I'm gonna make a video on this at some point. Like you can only run a script to so many variations before you just need to be emotionally secure as a man and have that like masculine presence in the relationship to be able to lead it. You have to have that or else you're going to get to 3 or 4 dates and then you run out of material that you like prepared, and
Yeah,
then what do? You're kind of
yeah.
fucked. So
It's funny, isn't it? Because that can sound like so robotic or alien to someone
Yeah,
saying they're not in this industry.
exactly.
It's just like, what do you mean material? But it's like, well, look, I mean, we all have like certain jokes that we'll occasionally tell on different dates or stories. It's like we're not necessarily talking about, okay, you're saying it like bit by bit exactly the same. Like now I pause for the laugh. Like so
Yeah.
that's sort of natural as well. But no, you're. I think you're right. And the more guys I speak to who are doing what you're doing, what I'm doing, there is that thing sort of behind it, which is just like you just have to be naturally attractive. And how do we get you there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that makes you attractive, like, yeah, money helps, looks help. Yeah, having like being able to engage in witty banter and flirt, that helps too.
That's
But what
massive.
will,
That's massive,
yeah,
isn't
I
it?
mean, it's huge. Like all that stuff will get you the first couple dates. It'll get you the attention from girls. All of the things that like you think before you ever have success with women gets you all those things you think you want, and that's the ideal. It's like, oh yeah, I just have sex with 3 girls a week, 5 girls a week, and I'm absolutely crushing it. My life is the best. But what you don't realize is once you meet a girl that's actually, you want to spend a lot more time with, and you want to have like a longer term relationship, whether that's open or it's monogamous or what, you have to be so emotionally secure in yourself. And like that doesn't really come naturally. If you're just focused on like just being like just the mechanics of like making girls want to
Yeah,
sleep with you, you
I
know?
see what you mean. And there's lots of pitfalls that you could just fall
Yeah.
into if you don't know what you're doing. It's just like you're saying. I mean, you get better and better at this.
Mhm.
You're going to start hanging out with and seeing girls that are of a higher standard. We don't just mean looks; we mean everything. Whatever your personal standard is, looks has something to do with it. You're gonna be getting. You can go up and up like that. And so eventually, I mean, these girls are lots of people like them. They've got lots of options. They can turn you. And so they maybe not as might make you feel feelings of neediness or
Mhm.
and it's just about sort of being content and confident enough in your own abilities or just your own not even ability, just like sort of you as a person, just at your core that you're okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it's like the main thing when I talk about like this emotional security, it's like you have to have, and a lot of guys think they get there pretty quickly, but it really takes like a long time of proving it to yourself. It takes going through multiple dry spells and like, just being able to like build a dating life out of nothing. You have to do it like a couple times. Like maybe you exit your first relationship that doesn't work out, and then you have to build up a dating life again. And once you prove that to yourself enough, that's when you're at the point where you're like, okay, I can choose this girl. I'm okay with only being with this one girl right now because I want to build something special with her. And if it doesn't work out, that's also fine because I know I can do it again because I've done it before. Like it's like a super deep level of like confidence and security in yourself that like I think a lot of guys just don't really get to, um, just because they focus on the wrong things.
Yes, yeah. All right. Well, then I completely with you. So if you've got those three pillars that you were mentioning, so it's like basically appearance and then location of where you're going to meet someone cool, and then how you're going to have these long-term relationships. So let's say we take a guy, he's killing it at work, all of that. He's mentally there, he's fine. So and his appearance is good enough. What are you going to tell him about sort of okay, he knows he's going to the right places. When he gets there, what should he do? What's the little roadmap of that night say?
Yeah, so it starts before well, obviously the only way to get better at something is experience. So if you're in a place right now with COVID and you can cold approach, I'll start forcing them to go out and approach, with just very small goals, just getting to the point where, if they're really like hard, they're like a big noob at this, start really direct, like, hey, I think you're cute. What's your name? Like just start with that. Get to the point where you don't want to blow your brains out,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah,
instead of doing that, um,
yeah,
and also at the same time, you have to do a lot of like almost studying. you know, like you have to understand why. It's not really empathy, but you have to understand the reasoning and the logic for why girls do certain things and certain behaviors that they have. Like, you know, shit test is one. It's like girls will give you shit, but why do they do it? They're not doing it because they want to make you mad or they want to, like, you know, cause drama. They're doing it because you seem really cool and you're coming off like you're really confident, but a guy that's actually confident wouldn't get upset or, you know, wouldn't get triggered at this thing that I say. Um,
She
and, you
has
know,
to
like,
do it. It's essential that she
yeah,
does it. It's just,
yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's not. Yeah.
yeah, it's literally just like, it's like protection. They just want to feel safe. And honestly, part of it's because guys suck so much. Like in general, guys are so bad at dating
Yeah.
that they have all these like subconscious defense mechanisms built in to like make sure you don't fucking suck, you know? Because maybe when they were 18, they had some guy that seemed really cool and then took her virginity and then ghosted her. And it's like, okay, well, now for the rest of her life, she's going to test you. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. You have to understand that it's not about you. It's about her feeling safe and not judged.
Yeah.
And like, it's just, she wants to feel safe. So you have to understand the reasoning behind why girls have these behaviors. And then you just have to go out and start taking action, which would be just approaching and moving through, you know, that's when it gets more like surgical or clinical. It's like, okay, so I moved through like, you know, I have what's called like the 5 A's, and it's like, I got her attention. Then I got to the point where I made some sort of like assertion about the relationship between us. So there's something there, some sort of tension.
So
And
an
then,
assertion, so well, so you're sort of giving her an impression like, well, I might like you. You're framing it in a romantic way. Is that what you're saying? Or
um, it, so the more advanced you get, the less you actually have to frame it in a romantic way. If you're really new, the attention and assertion is like, it's just, it's the same. Cause it's like, hey, I'm Tim. I thought you were cute. That's the assertion. It's like, it's setting the frame that something could happen.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but as you get more advanced, like things that I do when I go out, it's like the girl like assumes that I don't really like her at the start, or there's some sort of
right.
tension there, but it's not necessarily romantic or sexual. It's just tension. Like, as long as you know how to play with that tension, which is like, you know, it takes a long time to get good at that.
You're just yeah, you're coming in with these subtle body language cues or whatever it is that you get
Yeah.
over time just from doing this. And she's just like, oh, it's like the selector frame. She's just like, oh, this guy is just checking me out, but like not in a needy way. It's like I think that's what yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
Oh, I mean, yeah, I was just going to expand a little bit more about
yeah,
like
please.
the assertion part. So, yeah, I mean, it's just I pause to think sometimes because I have like I'm like really logical engineer brain.
Yeah,
Like, that's why I think I work so well with the guys in tech. I just like tell them, okay, this is what you do.
yeah.
But yeah, basically once you understand like the psychology behind why women behave in certain ways, which doesn't, you know, a lot of guys think you have to have a lot of emotional intelligence or like empathy, but you kind of do, but not really. It's more logical than that. Because you can be, you know, you can be a sociopath and like
We don't
still,
advise it, but don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
don't
wouldn't
be.
do it.
Yeah.
But like if you know, there are a lot of good people that test high for sociopathy, like, you know, psychologists or psychiatrists, surgeons, like a lot of people that help a lot of people and they have like sociopathic tendencies, but they do it for like for good. And they understand from like a clinical perspective why people do certain things. So you don't necessarily need to be super empathetic. You just need to understand why women do certain things.
Yeah.
And then you can give them what they need from the frame of like, you know, the masculine frame, basically like the protector or whatever, right? And that's like the psychology you really need to like, you need to dial into that and figure out, you need to just have a really deep understanding. And then everything else, it really is, it's kind of boring after that. You know, it's like I get to this step, then this step, then this step, then this step.
Yeah. There's definitely a linear notion to it. It's just, yeah, you cut basically approach, attraction's there, hook. I mean, this is sort of classic. And then, and then figure out logistics and go. And no, it's really interesting. I like what you were saying about, because I'm sort of putting you on the spot there and saying, like, well, so what's the generic approach to some guy who's he's basically got his shit together but doesn't understand the dating stuff? But you're absolutely right. Of course, it's a nuance every time, and of course, it depends on the guy. And it's funny what you said about just that sort of, oh, hi, I think you're cute. That's too much for some people. Some people can't even come in at that. And like, I mean, I've told guys, like, just go up to, I mean, just go up to a girl and just say, or even a group or a guy, and just say like peace be with you, or God bless, or something like that. Because it's just, no one's going to be annoyed at that. You know, like, even if, like, I'm not especially religious or anything like that, but it's just something nice. It's indirect. It's just nice. And then maybe shake their hand. Because and another thing is, it's kind of unique as well. Like, people don't say peace be with you on a night out. It's like, so if someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh, thank you, man. Like, shake their hand. Like, but it's just, there is, and it's just, you've got to build up. And if you're listening to this and you're not so great yet, I mean, you are where you are. I'm sure Tim, you were at that stage at one point, as was I, and you just, it's a learning process. You get in, but it's important to do. I mean, I was having calls with other guys, and it is just very important to get this handled. Because have you seen? I mean, presumably you said you work with guys 20s, early 30s in the tech sector. Have you had any guys coming in late and they just like woken up at like 45, maybe after a marriage or something?
Yeah, there was a guy recently, and I think he wants to start working with me in a couple months. But yeah, his situation was like, yeah, I'm 52. I just understood that, oh, there's a way you can talk to women, like, where you can be attractive on purpose. I didn't know that was a thing.
So no disrespect to the guy, but it's just, that's such a crazy notion, isn't it? Like,
people don't know. I'm honestly, like, most of the guys that I talk to, they don't even know that game exists. You know, it's just dating advice. So that's why, like, you know, lately I've been trying to not use as much like game or pick up like terminology.
Same.
Because, you know, I mean, even then, it's like the dating, like the game terminology is like, it's super, I don't know, the way that it's like framed or whatever is like, this is fact. It's
got
not
horrible PR.
Yeah,
the PR for it is terrible. And look, I mean, I think guys like you and I need to, that's part of what we need to bring to the table and how we change that. But at the same time, Tim, I think you're kind of similar to me, and I speak to a lot of guys who are maybe slightly more spiritually inclined than me, and it's about like like raising your own vibration and stuff. And there's a time and a place for that, but there is also a time and a place of like, look, there's like it's almost like there's schoolwork here. Like, there's some understanding that needs to go in, just like factual data that you've got to have. Like, you've got to do your homework on this topic as well. If you're bad at it currently, you want to get good.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of like, you can't just, that's another thing. Like, I know we want to talk about like men's self-development and the direction it's going to, and like, this is probably a good segue. Like, there's so much just like Gary V-ification of like men's self-help. And it's like, every coach I see, the way I know that they don't know what they're talking about is they post things like, or they respond to comments and they're like, you need to live in abundance, and like, or just like, live an abundant lifestyle. A real man will never chase a woman. Like, and they have all these like weird like mantras that they picked up. They don't actually understand what they mean. And they just kind of spew it out as like, it's good self-help. But it's like, no, like, no guy knows what like living in abundance means. If you've never been on a date and you're 26, what do you mean abundance? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, maybe if he's rich, you can like make a comparison to like money. Like, you're not worried about losing money. You're not worried about spending extra money on something. But like, you can't really explain these concepts without like, and make them put it into practice without teaching things that are like adjacent like you can't teach abundance, but you can teach things that are adjacent to abundance so that people can feel what abundance is like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah, all of that stuff. Like, I mean, we've not been doing this very long. This channel and
Yeah.
the whole movement, the Ghost idea is only sort of middle of last year, and I exactly that. I mean, obviously, when you're putting out content on Instagram and stuff like that, and there's a temptation to just spam every hour, like and you don't have enough quality content to put something out every hour. So it's like, are you going to fall into that trap of just putting that little image with some, like you say, like platitude, which is just has no nuance, and it's how is that helping anyone?
No.
But yeah, it doesn't really feel like it is. Well, okay, so so moving into that other topic then. So we were talking about, maybe I've got this idea of sort of bringing this dating understand. I want this to be sort of much more mainstream than it currently is.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be relegated to this little niche. Oh, that's what these weirdo pickup artists like. And what's the thing? Oh, isn't that manipulating? It's like I want that to be gone, and it just be like, oh, it's like, look, you learn violin if you want to get good at violin. You learn how to play football if you want to get good at football. It's just the same. So how do we go about doing that? What is the answer there to bring this up, and what are the problems that you see with the self-development community, the dating community?
I have a pretty interesting perspective on it, because my girlfriend is like, she's very, she's getting her master's right now. And so she's like, you know, she's deep in the university. She's super like left leaning and very like, you know, if you talk about anything that potentially could be like, you know, anything that's even close to like manipulation or like misogyny or anything, she's like very quick to jump on it.
Yeah.
And so explaining to her what I do, that helped me understand the way that you get dating advice for men to the mainstream.
Right.
So I think the way you do it is you explain all of these concepts, not from the frame of like, how can I get this result with the girl? You explain it from the frame of like, how can I make it clear that me and this girl should hang out more or like go on a date? Like, how do I make it so it's an obvious decision for both of us?
Yeah. I think another thing that's great. I like that framing. And the other, but even though, say if someone else is listening to a conversation, they're saying, well, even the way you're discussing it, framing it, it's as if like you're just trying to hide your true intentions or something like that. So I say, okay, put that to one side for a second. So let's talk about manipulation, right? So firstly, when you wear a suit to a job interview, that's manipulation, right? It might not be what society says. Society says, no, manipulation is this negative thing which you're trying to get just to benefit yourself and fuck everyone else. But really, it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So I mean, when a girl like gets up in the morning and she does a little bit of meditation so that she's in a good mood, and she keeps a good relationship with her parents so that she's more grounded, and then later that day she goes to the gym and works on her physique, and then she plays makeup, and then she goes out in the evening. That's manipulation. That is manipulation, right? It's like the thing that you need to watch is, are you manipulating someone or something to bad ends, to selfish or greedy ends or anything like that? And if your aim is, look, I'm an adult guy who's not doing so great dating wise, I'm a straight male, and I want to have consensual sex with adult women, there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let's drill right down. That's what it is. And they shouldn't be ashamed of that. There's nothing wrong with it. And so it's like, well, okay, am I manipulating anyone? Well, is being attractive manipulating? Is working out manipulating? It is and it isn't. I mean, that's how I look at it. And that informs my way of sort of trying to explain it to other people, and that's the way I think of it as well. And I don't think I'm wrong. I mean, if that's got holes in it, I hope you'd point it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think there's always going to be some sort of like, especially since you're teaching men, there's always going to be some people that say, oh, you're trying to like further the power dynamic between men and women. And I think that is like, in some, like in some cases, it's like a fair concern, but also, you know, I'm dating my girlfriend and she says that she likes that power dynamic. It's something that she
Right,
wants in a relationship.
right.
She wants me to be the leader, you know? And like, so when you explain it like that, it's like, I'm not trying to lead, you know, a woman in a relationship that doesn't want to be led, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think, yeah, it's just because it is very, I mean, it's mutual, dude. Like, that's
Can
why
I?
I get,
Sorry, Tim. Can I ask you something there? Because that
yeah,
point that you made, that is so important, and it's like I want to ask you, how do you deal with? So I'm not even talking about girls here. I'm talking about, let's say, guys who would otherwise be maybe yours or mine client, because they're not quite there yet,
mhm,
but they have this just complete aversion to what we're talking about. A complete let's say they completely don't understand what's really going on in the world of dating teaching, and they're not where they want to be, and they'll say like, well, no, they'll say like, well, yeah, like it's manipulation, and like, how do you get it across to them, like in a guy sense?
yeah. Well, my whole thing with when people come at me with stuff like that, I just always ask why, and it's always going to be a different like it's always going to be a different reason that they think that for different people. But there's like common answers. So, you know, if a guy goes, oh, because I don't want to make women do things that they don't want to do. I don't want to force myself on
Agreed.
women.
Same here.
And yeah, and you
Agreed.
go, yeah, and I go, yeah, I don't want that either. And what we're doing here is we are showing the parts of yourself. And honestly, it's not just, you know, you now is not attractive, but you can become attractive without changing anything about your core values or core personality. You just need to, you know, show that more. It's not like you're hiding anything, you know, be fully honest, transparent, and women will find that attractive once you get this stuff dialed in.
Yeah.
And then it's mutual. If a woman finds you attractive, you're not making her find you attractive. That's why I always like call people out for being like, how do I make her want to go on a date with me? It's like, no, how do you become the guy that she wants to go on a date with?
Yeah, that's such a good point. That is so true. Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, I've got to slip off, because I've got a hard stop. But listen, that has been absolutely fantastic, Tim. I really enjoy it, and this is almost like my what's it called? Like my guilty pleasure, like talking about the real sort of dynamics, mechanics of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I'd be very keen to have a chat with you again in the future if you're up for it. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed talking. I'll be down to talk in the future for sure.
Yeah, of course. Let people know where they can find you.
Okay, yeah. So any relevant like socials, they'll be linked down in the description below. The_Timmy B on Instagram and Tim Brazeal, Understanding Attraction on YouTube. First video went live today, actually. So there should be a couple of videos up by the time you're seeing this. And yeah, that's where I am. Thanks for having me, dude.
Great, man. Thank you very much.
Yep.